Good morning, boys and girls. Nice to see you again. Today's math lesson is 12-2, and it's called Measure with Inches. In your math bag today, you're going to need two things from there. First thing you're going to need is your ruler. And the second thing you're going to need is I gave you two of these tiles, so you'll need those. All right, so before we start and I start telling you exactly what you're going to do, I want to go over some words with you. Of course, yesterday I talked about the word estimate. And again, I'm going to remind you, when you estimate, you're making a very good guess. So you're going to be doing a lot of that today. When you estimate, you are not using the real tool. Okay, so I want to make sure that you understand that. You're going to get to use the real tool to check how well that you estimated. But when you estimate, it's kind of like using your eyeballs. That's really what it is. You're going to see the word height in here. Height is always when your arrow is going this way. How tall something is somebody's height. When you have the word length, length means how long something goes. And so your arrow goes this way. And I put a star beside this word right there, that's width. And the reason I started is because you're not going to see that word today in your lesson, but I just want you to understand what that word means, because we talk about height, which is the tall way. We talk about length, which is the long way. And width is used when you have something like a box that sticks out, or like your dresser. Your dresser is flat up against a wall in your room. Well, your dresser sticks out away from your wall. So that's what that part is. It's how far something sticks out. Okay, so that's called width. And if you notice the arrow on the width, it's kind of at a diagonal. Okay. All right, so today they're also going to talk about your ruler, and they're going to talk about how do I say this? You know how we learned how to round numbers, and I would always, say which number is it closest to? Well, you're going to be doing that a lot today, because when you measure, everything isn't always a perfect inch. It doesn't always land on exactly a number 2, a number 5, whatever. Sometimes it's in the middle. And so when it's in the middle, and I want you to look at your ruler today before you even start, but in between every single number on here, like for example, you can't see mine. Well, maybe you could if I put it a little closer. Okay, so let me just do number 2 and 3. So here's 2 and here's 3. Well, right smack in the middle is this line. We call that the halfway mark, okay? So when you are measuring something, that halfway mark is very important, because if your object is somewhere before the halfway mark, it's going to be closer to the smaller number. And if your object that you're measuring goes past the halfway mark, then it's going to be closer to the higher number. So that's kind of what they're going to give you today. They're not going to give you perfect measurements, because you're going to be looking for things at home to measure with, and they're not always exactly going to be perfect. So it's always, which inch does it come closer to? Okay. Now, let's say that you have one that you're measuring, and it's exactly right smack in the middle where that halfway mark is. Okay. Now, if we were in my classroom, I would do a big sticker candy question right now, and I would say, okay, let's pretend it's in between 3 and 4, and it's right smack in the middle of that, on that halfway line. So is it closer to 3? Is it closer to 4? No, it's not, because it's exactly in between. So my big sticker candy question too in the classroom would be, okay, so are you gonna call it 3 inches or are you gonna call it 4 inches? And then right now I would be seeing hands all going up like this. Okay, well, so the answer is 4. Just like when you're rounding, when something is right smack in the middle, you always go to the higher one, okay? So that's how that works. If you end up having something exactly in the middle, you always round to the highest number. All right, so let me just kind of remind you about your ruler. My ruler that I'm holding, it has a little 0 mark, okay? And my 0 is not at the very edge of my ruler, okay? So when I'm using my ruler, I'm not going to use the edge of my ruler. I'm going to line my end up with what I'm measuring with my 0 line, all right? Now, if you don't have a 0 on your ruler, then you're going to use the very edge of your ruler because that's where your 0 is, okay? So for the first one, let me just show you how to do this. This one shows me my arrow going this way. So I want to measure the length of it. Now, when you're using a ruler, you don't ever want to put a ruler like on top. You always want to lay your ruler underneath. So my little line right here where my 0 would be, I'm going to line that up right with the edge of my piece of paper. And, oh, see? Mine doesn't go to a perfect number, but this one is closest to the 4. So on that one, I would write 4 inches. Now the next one, it wants me to do the height because my arrow is going this way. Now, on this one, you can either take your ruler and go this way, or you can go on this side like that. Now it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go on this side because I always like my 0 at the bottom. That's just me, okay? So I'm gonna line my edge, my 0 line up on the end with my piece of paper. Oh my goodness, boys and girls, it's exactly on the halfway mark between 8 and 9. Is it closer to 8? No. Is it closer to 9? No. It's exactly in the middle. So when that happens, we always go to the highest one. So this one is going to be called 9 inches. All right, this next one is this arrow, and this arrow is going to the height. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line this up at the very edge. Oh, and I got lucky. That was a perfect one. So I'm going to say that that is 2 inches. And then we have this one here, and we're going the length of that one. So I'm going to line my 0 line right up with the edge of that. And, oh, not to the halfway mark. It's before the halfway mark. So it's closest to the number 3. So that one is 3 inches. And my last one. Gonna line that up and I'm gonna measure the length. So I have that my 0 line lined up with the edge of my paper. Oh, and there's another one, boys and girls. It's exactly halfway between the 8 and the 9. So if it's exactly halfway between 8 and 9, we always round to the highest inch. So we're gonna call that 9 inches. All right, you're gonna have lots of fun today because you're actually gonna get to use the ruler. Now, let me talk about the book. On the very first page, they have a line and they're gonna ask you to get your little tiles out, and all they want you to do is use your tiles and measure this line on the very first page. These tiles are actually an inch long. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna lay one of your tiles like that at the very edge like this, and then you're gonna lay your second one right next to it. Now what you are gonna want to be careful with, oh, I don't have them right next to each other. You wanna make sure that there's no gap anywhere between that. They have to be right next to each other. Now, the reason I gave you two is this reason is so when you have this one, then you can slide this one away and then move it here, okay? Now when you're sliding it away, please be careful that you don't bump this one over a little bit because then it's gonna mess up the measurement. So watch how I take mine. I kind of slide it down this way. So that was 1, this is 2. So now this makes 3. Then I'm gonna move this one. Now this makes 4. And now this makes 5. This makes 6. This makes 7. This makes 8. This makes 9. Oh, and you can see I have like this much more space. Can I fit another tile in there? No, no, not at all. So I'm gonna call that one, I think it was 8. I think it was 8. So I'm gonna say that that is 8 inches. I forgot my counting. All right, so that's page 1. When you turn to page 2, they're gonna ask you to measure some things. Now, they're not asking you to measure these things in the book. They want the real things. Now, a lot of these things are items that I would have at school, all right? So if you don't have something at home that's like this, just try to find something that is similar in size. Like the first one is a piece of notebook paper. Well, I'm sure your parents have a piece of paper at home. The next one is a pencil box. Okay, I don't know if you have a pencil box at home. So just try to find something. I would say a tissue box would maybe be about the size of that one. Then they have a backpack. Okay, all of you guys have your backpacks at home. This next one is the height of a cup. Just ask your parents for a cup. This one is the length of a paintbrush. All right, I know that some of you probably don't have a paintbrush, so just get a pencil or a marker or a fork. Then this one is a crayon box. Now, all of you have a crayon box. Now, you don't have a big crayon box like that, but all of you have a crayon box because I gave you one in your little math kit. All right, so please make sure that you're also paying attention to which way the arrows go. All right, number 7 and number 8, those are not hard. Number 9 on the back side, that's not hard either. Number 10, let me read this to you. It says, find an object in the classroom that measures about 6 inches. Write a sentence to describe the object. Use these words. Well, they have the words estimate and inches. So I was looking at my ruler and I saw where 6 was, and 6 was right here. Now, did I use my ruler to go and find something? No, I just saw how big 6 was. And I kind of was like, okay, 6 is about this big. Let me go around hunting for something. Well, I found my napkin. I have not even measured it yet. I don't even know how close I am, but it kind of looks like it's 6 inches. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually measure it, and I'm going to line my 0 line up at the edge. And boys and girls, wow, did Miss Black do good. It's a little teeny tiny bit past the 6. So I would write right here in this blank, I would say, I estimated that my napkin was 6 inches, period. And did I use both words? Yes, okay. Number 11. It says, explain how to use an inch ruler to measure the length of an object. Well, I've been doing that every single time that I measured. So I'm going to walk you back through one more and listen to how I say. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to line your 0 line or the edge of your ruler up with the end of what you're measuring. Next, you're gonna look how far the object ends, and you're gonna look to see what number it comes closest to. And then you're gonna record your answer. And that's it. That's how you use a ruler. And of course, number 12 is super, super easy. All right, boys and girls, have fun. Measuring is a lot of fun. Have a good day. All right, see you later. Bye.